Yeah, it's a very interesting phenomenon. I mean, just to even talk about social media, period. I mean, we have a very another very prominent. I won't even say just national, but global individual in our country, right? Who dominates Twitter with messages, whether they're true or not, right? Depending on who it's coming from and who has the largest audience or presence. You know, it's almost as if fiction can be made fact, right? And I guess maybe to pose the question to you: do you think that's it really maybe even applied in Takashi's case of taking?
I assume that you're talking about Donald J. Trump,
Yes,
uh,
that's correct.
and I mean I think that Trump and 6ix9ine, they're kindred spirits. We live in the age of the troll. We like the internet troll for president, and we as a society, had learned that the attention that was given to him, the outrage, the the just controversy that was constantly around him, that became very dangerous. That by giving even negative attention, we put ourselves in a position where now this person actually became president of the United States for 4 years. And as we wake up out of the nightmare that was, and the confusing, twisted reality that I mean, this comes out of a Black Mirror episode that Trump would actually be president. It's confounding. And I think that the same fear that people have of that is also with 6ix9ine. The idea that hate and love, when it comes to attention, they're the same.
Yeah.
People love to hate him, and they love to listen. You can't not look. Cannot look. You cannot look. And also, we live in a time where all of that the audience is doing it privately. So people are looking at views, and they just become metrics. But maybe they wouldn't invite their friend over to watch the Takashi thing, but they'll consume it. And I'm finding that with the reaction to the film. I mean, the outrage on Twitter for Hulu having a Tekashi 6ix9ine film is absolutely unprecedented. I've never seen
Wow.
it. I mean, if you look on Twitter, it's just constantly why is Hulu giving a platform to the 6ix9ine? And what it really shows is that just his name is so triggering that
Hmm.
it's considered dangerous to
Polarizing.
that. And then people watch the film and realize he's not getting paid for making the movie. It's critical of his career. It gives closure to the whole thing. And so I think that we're all sort of in a complicated place right now of how the attention economy affects it affects celebrity. And so I get the people's reaction, and I also think it's just been interesting to watch how outrage turns to approval, and then even reluctant praise to
Yeah.
the film.
Yeah. I will even have to confess and admit, and it was just for a flash of a second, but it did even cross my mind of posting coverage on my social media about the film. Now, I mean, I had seen it, right? And so I knew what it was, and I stand by my opinion of it. But yeah, it did cross my mind for a half of a second of, am I going to get any, flack or pushback about this? So that, I mean, yeah, that's very, very interesting. And yeah, I would venture to say the majority of those folks that have taken issue had not seen the film yet and given it an opportunity, because I think if they had or have, they understand that it's, coming from a very journalistic standpoint, and it's unbiased and very, very interesting.
To be quite honest, I think a lot of the people who have very strong opinions of him may in fact be the people who were his fans and giving him the clout that he has now.
Yeah.
A lot of people know about him who aren't triggered by seeing his face on a Hulu homepage are seeing it for the first time. But if you had been tracking the Takashi story, had been a fan, or embarrassed for being a fan, I would imagine seeing that on the homepage would be frustrating. That this is a unbiased look from an outside journalist who is not giving Takashi more clout, but actually saying, let's look at what this guy represents and ask the question about why it happened and what that says about all of us as society. And in a way, I think the film maybe gives closure to a lot of things that people are trying to cancel. But I think it's better to grapple with it as opposed to just cancel and forget about it, because there'll be another 6ix9ine there'll be another 6ix9ine in our future if you don't.
Yeah, yeah. Now, watching the film, one question that came to my mind, and just watching through your camera's lens, was, I mean, at any point, I guess it's kind of a two-part question. At any point, were you threatened, either physically or verbally? And second part, excuse me, right? A lot of different characters. Some, let's just, I mean, call it what it is. I mean, folks that are a part of gangs and whatnot. I mean, did you ever, feel concerned about your safety in terms of, covering a subject such as Tekashi 6ix9ine?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning of the film, you see us being sort of shouted off of a block Tekashi's from. I think the neighbors are had been inundated with so much media that they were pretty reluctant to be part of it, aggressive often, and of course, when people get annoyed, they can get physical violent or verbally violent. So definitely we got a little bit of that, people being really triggered by it. Everyone was triggered by the conversations, whether or not they were friends with him or not. People who wanted to talk about him then also didn't want to talk about him. It was as if like this was a dark or traumatic experience in their life, and they wanted to talk about it, but it kind of hurt too. As far as any other danger, I just kind of look at this like there's a narrative that people like having and glamorize and put attention to when it comes to gangs, and there's an allure of the dangerous, and that's what Tekashi fed off of.
Mm-hmm.
Was saying I'm part of a street gang and I'm a badass and I really lived through all of this. And I approach the situation like I try to approach everything that I've filmed, that you're there to tell people stories and to sort of treat them as a human. And the whole point of going out in the field is to not accept the label that people are given and to treat them like regular people and hear what they have to say. And so when it comes to anyone who's a member of the Bloods or anyone who is affiliated with a gang, I mean, you could either go in and make the gang the thing you see, or you can look at a person and make them who you see. And so I approached it like everyone's a person, I don't care about the label. I don't know what the truth of their affiliation is. I don't care who their crime. Everybody got their own story. And I'm not going to indict somebody for their affiliation or, the world that they grew up in. I'm there to hear what they have to say and treat them like a regular person. I think when you approach people like that, you don't get the response that people imagine. You're not going to. You say, "Oh, how did you talk to gang members?" Like you just treat them like regular people, and then They'll treat you like a person. So that's the way that I've approached everything in any field, whether it's a president of a country or if it's somebody who's affiliated with a gang. Is just to treat them like regular people and try to hear their story and be interested in who they are. And I think that's the reason that I never really felt nervous. I also don't know what there was to feel nervous about. I mean, I'm not starting beef. I'm just trying to hear what they have to say and give them a platform. So I tried to get to that human level with people. I think if you try to meet people, in an aggressive way and try to meet them at a, in a different way, you're going to get that response. So I just never really had a problem with most people. Yeah, we were careful to make sure we represented everyone properly and went to the truth. And that's what I hold on to, and that's kind of just like the principle that I work with. So I didn't danger to be. That's the answer.
Makes a lot of sense, and I mean I'll hold on to two words that you just said: the truth. I don't think, I mean, that's a hard thing to argue. I mean, the truth is the truth, and that's what you sought to tell in this film, and I think it shows. I know we're quickly running out of time. Final question for you. What was the most, what was the most surprising thing that you discovered about Danny Hernandez, Tekashi 6ix9ine through the making of this film?
I mean, I think that I'd read about very interesting parts of his story, but I think really kind of walking in his footsteps and reliving and meeting the people that he met was pretty interesting and really brought things to life. So traveling to Slovakia and meeting the guys who helped birth his fame in Eastern Europe was fascinating. There's a whole hip hop scene out there. Um, the friendship that can grow across the world like that is fascinating to meet those people. Um, Beyond that, the bizarreness of his the bizarreness of his biological father showing up to court and going and traveling to meet him and the place he is opened up a new reality of seeing you know Danny's life from a different angle. To all of a sudden you see the generational curse of his family and how that could play out into what he was interested in. So the whole thing, the most surprising thing is really to just it's possible to uncover the humanity in people, but not excuse any of their behavior. But just I think it's important too. So that's the most interesting thing for me is really just if you went as we went in his footsteps to actually meet all these people and put a human face on the experience and kind of like live it through his shoes a little bit. And that's what we tried to do. And I think we got to see this crazy story that I think in a way could only happen in New York. That's a cliche, but
Yeah.
he was really on the cusp of so many different things that it made his story very relatable and very understandable.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Vikram, Gandhi, thank you so much for your time, director, producer of the new film, The Saga of Danny Hernandez. You guys, you can see this on Hulu. It's available right now. I strongly encourage everyone to check it out. But yeah, thank you again for your time. Congratulations on your project.